Okay, this is class number 11, lecture number 11, and we were covering the Indian geography, and we had covered a lot of topic in last class. In class number 10, we completed the land resources of India, right? And we discussed the land resources of India in very detailed manner. Okay, if you have not watched, you go back and watch those videos also, because land resources videos, they are discussed in quite detail. And today we will start with the again a big topic, very large topic, that is agriculture. Okay, and in the agriculture, first of all, we will let us set the context in case of this thing, agriculture. And it is very important from the perspective of economy as well as geography. But here our main focus will be the geographical band of the agriculture. Okay, we will not study the agriculture from the perspective of economics, right? We will be introducing the temporal concepts in the agriculture, spatial concepts in the agriculture, right? So let us start with the first of all with the context building, right? A little bit context. Okay, and it is, and so in this term it is appropriate to say that the agriculture, even though just contribute to 15 to 17% of GDP, employs close to 60% of India's population. Okay, and by the agriculture here, we just not mean the cultivation of crops. Okay, we just not mean the plantation agriculture. It also include, we will also study in it the other activities, whether they are the cattle farming or pisciculture, that is fish farming. Okay, white revolution, yellow revolution, so all those terminologies we will also study in the agriculture as well, right? So this is the main background here. And the agriculture influences the every aspects of Indian economy. This is the influence every sector of economy, from GDP to inflation to saving rate and industrial output. Okay, so agriculture has a very vast impact on every sector of economy. So you simply just cannot ignore the agriculture in the lieu of developing the manufacturing and service sector. So what is the conclusion? What is the conclusion? Conclusion is very simple, that you simply cannot ignore the agriculture. You simply cannot ignore the agriculture. Just because you want to develop the service sector and manufacturing sector. And very striking example of this line, of this thing, that when we ignored the agriculture and we tried to jump over to the industry, was in the second 5 year plan. What happened in the second 5 year plan? In the second 5 year plan, we implemented the industrial policy resolution 1956. So we implemented this industrial policy resolution, and we simply ignored the agriculture in this decade. So the result of this ignorance was nothing but in the third 5 year plan. The result were evident in the third 5 year plan. What happened in the third 5 year plan? India suffered huge food scarcity, and this food scarcity led us to beg the US for food under the PL 480, and we had to literally go to US begging the wheat under PL 480 scheme of the US. So this was the background, that what is the result of ignoring the agriculture sector, and it was in this backdrop that we launched the Green Revolution program. Okay, so we just set the context here, that that agriculture plays a very vast role in our GDP, in other macroeconomic parameters, and it employs huge labor, right? And in addition to that, the significant contribution is to there the to GDP, and this is mostly in the where in the rural sector. So it is a mostly the rural economy, right? So the India, as when we say that India lives in the villages, that means you simply cannot ignore the agriculture. And one negative effect of that ignorance, we said that happened in the second 5-year plan, and the results were evident in the third 5-year plan, right? So this is the background of agriculture, right? Now we must move on to the concepts. Okay, first of all, we will study all the concepts related to agriculture, and in those concepts we will start first with the agriculture efficiency. Okay, then we'll study the agricultural productivity, right? And after that we will study what is the difference between these two, agriculture efficiency and agriculture productivity, right? So let us first start with the agriculture efficiency, right? So we will start with the agriculture efficiency here. See, measure of agriculture success. What is the measure of agriculture development? How do you measure agriculture development, agriculture success? So we have a number of tools to measure agriculture success. Okay, agriculture efficiency is one tool to measure that success. That means, so efficiency is nothing but the agriculture output for the applied input, right? Now this is a very subjective definition, that agriculture output for given input, right? That means this subjectivity make the agriculture efficiency a very difficult method to measure the success of agriculture. So you simply are not able to find out what is agriculture output, what is agriculture input, because when you say agriculture input, we apply the family labor as well, right? Family labor, which is not counted most of the times. Okay, right? When we do agriculture, we end up eroding the soil, so a part of output. Okay, so how much agriculture soil has been eroded because of our repeated cultivation, or has been degraded because of that, must be counted in output. But this is again a very subjective no calculation. We cannot calculate that again. Then depletion of groundwater. How much depletion of groundwater? How much groundwater is depleted because of our activities of the agriculture? Okay, that must be, okay, first of all mathematically calculated, and that mathematical number must be added to the output. But what happens, can you calculate the how much water is depleted because of your activities? No, it is here, it is most difficult again. So there are number of subjectivity in calculating input and output of agriculture, right? That means the agriculture efficiency is very difficult to calculate. So to change the agriculture output and input, we have to devise some new methods through which we can measure the success of agriculture, right? So we have to have some another method through which we can measure how much successful agriculture is, and that method can be agriculture productivity. So agriculture productivity can overcome the problems which were there in the agriculture efficiency, right? We told the problems in calculating the agriculture efficiency because of subjectivity. Okay, number of factors you have to calculate, for example the groundwater depletion, for example the family labor. Okay, you are not just simply calculating this, you are simply calculating this and adding into it. So agriculture efficiency is very difficult to calculate. Now, when it comes to agriculture productivity is output. Although we are saying output, but output in terms of quintal. So हमने यहाँ पे बहुत simple कर दिया that we will measure the agriculture output in terms of quintal, and input will measure in terms of the land. That is how much hectare of the land, okay, how much acre of the land we used for this much quintal of output. So we just simply simplified the input and output methods here, right? So this is the definition of agriculture productivity. But now comes the difference between these two, agriculture efficiency and productivity. See, now what we are saying that agriculture productivity is output. Now in Punjab and Haryana, let us say example, let's take example in Punjab Haryana region, agriculture productivity is very high. Productivity is very high, right? Productivity is high. But in the same Punjab Haryana region, the efficiency, agriculture efficiency is very low. Now, why I'm saying this? Because productivity is simply measuring the output by input in terms of quintal. Because in Punjab Haryana region, the output in terms of quintal is huge. For example, let us say wheat yield is 2000 quintals per hectare. Okay, but this much wheat output, this is very high, but this much wheat output is being taken from a land which is very intensively used. Okay, very intensively used means you are applying a huge quantity of, you are applying high fertilizer. Okay, high fertilizer. So when you will include this in input, when you include the other inputs like the very intensive irrigation, right, high MSP, okay, electricity subsidy, okay. So what we said, the efficiency is all the output we will measure divided by all the inputs. Okay, so when you add all these inputs, this will bring down the efficiency, this will bring down the efficiency very low. So efficiency will become very less in this region. Similarly, the other high output region of the world, the other high output regions of the world, other high productivity regions of the world. What are other high productivity regions of the world? For example, in the steppes, in prairies, right? These regions are again the regions because of what? High high input application. Okay, high fertilizer, irrigation, okay, subsidy, etc. So these regions again have very low efficiency. So this high input application makes again the efficiency low in these regions. That means although our target is high productivity, we want our land, for example we have 1 acre land, to produce more wheat per season, but the for increasing the productivity we decrease the efficiency. This is not the solution. So you have to what is the solution? When we are trying to increase the productivity, our efficiency is getting decreased. Now the solution lies that in the agroecological regions. That means, for example, a particular area, a particular land, this is a land, right? This a particular patta of land. Now, how much agriculture activity this land can support with optimal inputs? With optimal inputs, okay. You cultivate this land with these optimal inputs, and these optimal with the help of these optimal inputs, what you will get? The optimal productivity. The optimal productivity without this optimal productivity will automatically translate into high efficiency. Will translate into high efficiency. Why I am saying this? Because by using the optimal inputs, you are not degrading the natural resources. But you are not degrading the by doing this process, you are not degrading the natural resources. Not degrading the natural resources. For example, what happened in Haryana Punjab region? just for the sake of having the high productivity, for high productivity during green revolution time, we applied heavy inputs. So heavy inputs, and because of this region today suffers from a number of problems. And what are these problems? Everyone knows: salinization of the soil, alkalinization of the soil, decreasing productivity, groundwater depletion, okay, problem of waste burning, farmer suicide. So all these problems are because of our chant for, or our urge for having the high productivity without caring for efficiency. So we have to care for both productivity as well as efficiency. So this was a basic essence of productivity, efficiency, how they are related, how if we do not care for efficiency, we have to basically develop agriculture in a very balanced manner. Okay, if we do not develop in balanced manner, we have seen the examples, right? So this is the first topic of this class: efficiency, productivity, difference between them. Now we will do what is the productivity regions of India. Okay, we will do the productivity regions of India. Okay, we will divide India into three regions: very high productivity region, low productivity region, and moderate productivity region, right? So first of all, let us study the high productivity region. Which are high productivity region? Very high and high productivity region, and high productivity regions. Okay, these include the green revolution belt. Green revolution belt. Okay, what is this? This is Haryana, it is Punjab, western UP. Okay, it includes the sugarcane belt of Maharashtra, sugarcane belt of Maharashtra, right? Then it includes the saffron cultivation region of Kashmir, saffron cultivation region. Okay, it includes the plantation region of India. Okay, plantation regions of India. right? It also includes the horticulture regions and the brackish water aquaculture region. Horticulture regions of India and the brackish water aquaculture regions of India. Brackish water aquaculture regions of India. Okay, so these are the regions which are very high productivity. Now, what is interesting thing that the correlation that I told you, what is the correlation that we have achieved a high productivity in this region? No doubt, high productivity has been achieved in this region. High productivity we have achieved in this region, but at the cost of natural resources. At the cost of natural resources. Okay, depletion of natural resources, erosion of natural resources, as I gave you the example of Haryana Punjab belt, depletion of natural resources. Now here I am giving you another example is the brackish water aquaculture regions of India. Now what is happening when we undertook the blue revolution program, although we will do it in this same part agriculture, but let us introduce here. In 1980 when we started it, it was dominated by the marine aquaculture. Okay, marine aquaculture. Now the marine aquaculture, this type of aquaculture, what happened that the ponds were established near the sea water, right? Ponds were established, and these ponds, when the water in these ponds could not sustain the fishes, crabs and lobsters, this water was evacuated in the adjacent lands, and that led to this huge amount of accumulation of accumulation of hazardous waste. Okay, in so this has led to depletion of the natural resources, the land and the water in those areas where this kind of activity was done. Okay, the marine resources, for example lobster, okay, the crabs, these kind of species were, okay, were uh, kept in these ponds. Okay, and when the water could not sustain these species, that water was evacuated from the ponds, and new salt water, new marine water was added in those ponds. And when the wastewater that was evacuated in the adjacent land, that land get wasted, that land get degraded. Okay, so that happened during the blue revolution program. So the high productivity region, definitely this high productivity came at the cost of natural resources. Okay, so you can remember these things, these regions, and two examples, one is Punjab Haryana and another is from the blue revolution. And when you see the second type of regions, they are the low and very low productivity, low and very low productivity region, very low productivity regions. Now these regions have natural resource limitations. Why low productivity? Because of natural resource limitation. Natural resource limitation. And the regions which fall under this low productivity, very low productivity, like the Western Rajasthan, Malwa Badlands, right? Bastar Plateau region, Bundelkhand region, and the red soil region of Plateau, and the red soil region of Plateau. Okay, so these were the very low productivity region. So what is the problem here, the natural resource problem. For example, land is very degraded, rainfall is very less, okay, natural resources are very low, land fragmentation is very, so all these problems are prevalent in this area. So the agriculture is not sustainable activity here. Agriculture is not self-sustainable activity here, not self-sustainable activity here. So what is the solution here in this region? The solution is very simple. The limit which is imposed by nature, which is imposed by nature in the form of natural resources, okay, this limit must be adhered to, and the excess of cultivation must not be done here. Cultivation should not be done here. Okay, so the government must engage the population in these areas in alternate employments, okay, alternate sources of employment, industries, services, okay, so other avenues must be opened in these areas. So this was the second aspect, the second regions, okay, first the high productivity region, second was the low productivity region. Moving on to the third type of regions, and the third type is the moderate productivity regions. Moderate productivity regions. Now what I'm saying is, first of all, which are the moderate regions? The moderate productivity regions are the central Ganga plains, central and lower Ganga plains, and lower Ganga plains, right? Assam Valley, right? Coastal stretches, right? And the river valley regions of the peninsular rivers, river valley regions of peninsular streams, right? So these are the regions of the moderate productivity, and the interesting fact is these regions are most neglected regions, so in terms of agriculture, the most neglected regions in terms of agriculture. But another interesting fact is they have very high potential for agriculture. They have very high potential for agriculture. Okay, very high potential for agriculture, and this agriculture will, the agriculture that will be done in these regions, if done properly, will also lead to diversification of agriculture. Okay, so these regions need to be developed, properly supported by the government, properly invested in infrastructure, whether it is mud infrastructure, transport infrastructure, cold storage infrastructure. So all associated allied infrastructure needs to be put in there in these regions, okay, because these regions are very crucial. Why very crucial? As I told you, number one is the very high potential. These regions, diversification is very high, plus these regions have very high incidence of poverty, very high incidence of poverty in India, poverty and malnutrition. Okay, so these regions needs to be made self-reliant, needs to be properly supported, and for this purpose, although government initiated this aspirational district program, this is the aspirational district program, although number of programs of the number of district of these regions, the this particularly the moderate productivity region and the low productivity regions are included in this aspirational district program. But in addition to this, as I told you, number of agriculture challenges are there in this region. We have to develop the agriculture on the modern lines, not on the lines that we did take or took in the green revolution. In green revolution we used intensive inputs. We have to prevent these regions from being the intensively cultivated. These have to be moderately, the inputs have to be very cautiously used, right? We have to, for example, we have to use the, in case of the we have to use the here the system of rice intensification, system of rice intensification for rice cultivation. This kind of cultivation is called the as SRI cultivation in agriculture. Okay, the other thing that is can be done is the bringing green revolution to the eastern India. This program of government of India, bringing green revolution to eastern India, bringing green revolution to eastern India. This program has to be modeled on the modern lines, not on the lines on which we did in the green revolution. Okay, so this is, in addition to this, we have to aggressively implement the MIDH scheme, Mission for Integrated Development of Horticulture in this region. Mission for Integrated Development of Horticulture. Okay, and other associated schemes of the government has to be done in these regions. So this was the, basically this was the productivity scheme of the India. Okay, how the different productivity regions of India can be identified. Okay, so different productivity regions of India. First of all, the high productivity region, okay, that we mentioned here. Okay, the green revolution belt, the saffron cultivation, plantation, horticulture, brackish water, etc. Okay, okay, then what is the consequence of this? Okay, why, how this agriculture productivity was achieved? Then low agriculture productivity regions, okay, and the limitations of the natural resources, so that was also seen here, limitation. And then the moderate productivity region and their potential and why they must be developed, and what the scheme of things that government can adopt in these regions, whether it is the system of rice intensification for rice cultivation, bringing green revolution to the eastern India, aggressively implementing the mission for integrated development of horticulture, national livestock mission, or sorry, national livestock mission, national livestock mission. Okay, this can be implemented here. Okay, so all these programs must be implemented in a cautious manner in the regions which are moderate productivity regions, right? So this was the this topic of this class, that is the productivity region. Moving on to the next topic of this class, and the next topic is the agriculture intensity, that is agriculture intensity, right? Now what is agriculture intensity? Again, as I said you, that we need to have some measures through which we can measure the success of agriculture. We need to have some measures through which we can measure the development of agriculture, development of how developed our agriculture is. So another method in that line, that series, is agriculture intensity. So agriculture intensity is defined as the gross sown area per net sown area into 1000. So this is the agriculture intensity. Wait. Okay, so this is agriculture intensity here. Now what is this gross on area? This is the gross on area. This is net on area. For example, in Punjab has highest agriculture intensity, which is 190%. Okay, average intensity agriculture intensity of India is close to 150%. Right? What does it mean? For example, let us say 190% or close to 200. Right? That means a piece of land in Punjab, a piece of land is Punjab, is cultivated twice a year. Right? This piece of land is cultivated twice. So the gross sown area is 2 times the net sown area. Net sown area is same, that is 1 hectare. But this 1 hectare is used twice a year. That means the agriculture productivity becomes close to 200. So this is the definition. This is how the agriculture intensity varies. Now, what our focus in India is to increase the agriculture intensity. Focus should be to increase the agriculture intensity. Now, why I am saying that we should increase the agriculture intensity? Now, let me justify this line. Why we should increase the agriculture intensity in India? Number one, close to 10 to 12% of India's land is fallow land. Okay, the land which sometimes is not left without cultivation for 1 year, sometimes left without cultivation for 1 to 2 years, sometimes left for cultivation even for 5 years. So this kind of land, when not cultivated, has two side effects. It has two problems. This kind of land. Why? Number one problem is when we left the land barren bare without cultivation, that land becomes prone to desertification, prone to desertification. So within few years it will become a wasteland. It will be of no use. So to prevent this, we must cultivate. We must increase the agriculture intensity. The second reason is that when we fallow the land, okay, when we leave the land without cultivation, okay, you are wasting the land resource. You are wasting the land resource. As we know, India is rapidly urbanizing. What we are saying, you are wasting the land. Why? Because India is rapidly urbanizing and urbanizing, and for this urbanization we need land resource. Right? We need land resource. Urgent land resource is required. So urgent land resource, and you are vacating the land which is available for you. So that means you are wasting the land. So we must increase the agriculture intensity. But now is a caution here. Now is a caution. What is the caution? What we must be careful of? We must be careful of not adopting unsustainable methods. Not adopting unsustainable methods of increasing the productivity. That were used in Punjab, Haryana. Although we had the high agriculture intensity there, okay, our agriculture intensity is high, close to 119 in Punjab, but the land resources have been degraded to almost irreversible limit. Few patches of the land have been taken to that extent that they cannot be reversed. They cannot be taken back from that kind of alkalinization and salinization has happened to there. So this must be cautioned before we increase the productivity. But these is the reason why we should not left the land vacant and why we must increase the intensity of agriculture. Okay, so this was again a very important topic, that was the agriculture intensity, and we see it how the agriculture intensity is important because we are land scarce country, we need land. Okay, few of the land currently India has close to 145 million hectare of the land which is cultivated, which falls in this zone, net zone area. Okay, now this 145 million hectare, now if I set the context, India's total area is 238 million hectare, and out of this 230 million hectare you are cultivating 145 million hectare net zone area. Now it is very simple from this figure, these two figures, that someday land from this 145 million hectare has to be transferred to other purposes, whether it is for the urbanization, for mining, for highway construction. So this land will decrease. Okay, but our population is increasing. So, and with increasing population, not only our population is increasing but our size of middle class is also increasing. So we need additional sources of protein, fat, carbohydrates. For that we need more food. That means we need to increase our agriculture output, means we need, and this land is decreasing. That means we have only one thing left, that is we have to increase the agriculture intensity. We have to increase the एग्रीकल्चर इंटेंसिटी, और कुछ बचता ही नहीं है. एग्रीकल्चर इंटेंसिटी को ही इंक्रीज करना पड़ेगा जब यहाँ से लैंड हटकर दूसरे एरियाज के अंदर डाइवर्ट की जा रही है. ठीक है, सो दिस वाज द एग्रीकल्चर इंटेंसिटी टॉपिक. ओके, moving on to the next topic, that is again a very important topic, and it is the dryland farming. Okay, moving on to the next, that is dryland farming. Now what is this dryland farming? The farming which is done in the dry, semi-arid and subhumid regions. Okay, regions which experience rainfall less than 75 centimeter, right? These regions. And these dry land farming regions in India are very important region. These dry land farming regions, why they are very important in India? Because a large part of India has this much, I mean less than 75 centimeter rainfall, and this we will divide the regions which have this the less than 75 centimeter rainfall in the four regions in India basically. So the four regions where the dryland farming is done in India, the four regions. Number one is the western plains, excluding those areas where where irrigation facilities are developed, right? This is the first region. Region number two is the plateau regions, and these regions include the Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu and Telangana. So these are this region. Okay, the second region. The third region where dryland farming is done is the Central Highlands of India. And which are these Central Highlands? These include the Malwa uplands, right? These include the Bundelkhand region. Okay, these include the Nagpur belt. These are the parts which again here the dryland farming is done. And then the third one is the hilly regions of India. okay, where the rainfall is less than the wait a second, the hilly regions of India. Hilly regions of India. Although they are wet region, there may be rainfall. Let us say rainfall may be more than 100 centimeter, but the problem is the retention of water. High runoff of water is the problem. So these regions will also be included in the dryland farming zone, right? So what we have said in the dryland, that this kind of the regions where these are the physical conditions, these are the climatic conditions, okay, and the farming is done, is called the dryland farming. In India, we divide the dryland farming region in the four regions, okay, the four categories, okay, four regions now. And these regions mostly fall in the, let us make a map here of this thing. This is the belt where the most of the dry region of the India falls, dry zone belt of India. Okay, the few regions of this in peninsular interior, dryland belt, dryland agriculture zone, right? Now this dryland agriculture zone is close to 100 million hectare. Now look at the size of the area, 100 million hectares. और अभी हमने कहा था कि इंडिया के अंदर we cultivate close to 146 million hectare. This is the net sown area of India, and 100 million hectare is very huge. That means this area is not something we can say that worthless, useless in terms of agriculture. This region has very high potential, not just potential, but produce very essential, very essential commodities, very essential commodities. And these are commodities. Look at the commodities here. 40% of India's grain comes from this belt. 40% of India's grain. 75% of pulses. 90% of millets come from this belt. 100% tobacco. 70% cotton comes from this belt. And again, 2/3 oilseed production come from this area. Oilseed production comes from this area. This is the importance of this region. So this region again simply cannot be ignored and cannot be simply left to the vagaries of the nature. So what is the solution? What is the problem? The problem is that this region has been neglected. Problems are the neglect by the government policies. The problem is the lack of irrigation facilities. The problem is the land fragmentation. Okay. Problem is lack of markets. Okay. And high incidence of poverty. And high incidences of poverty in this region. So these are the problems of these regions. But we have simultaneously what we have said, that this region has very high potential. The potential is very high, not just potential, it is producing such a huge number of commodities, and still these problems, द नेगलेक्ट बाय गवर्नमेंट, इरिगेशन फैसिलिटी नहीं है, फ्रेगमेंटेशन बहुत ज्यादा हो रहा है लैंड का, वहाँ पे मार्केटिंग फैसिलिटीज नहीं है, इंसिडेंसेस ऑफ पॉवर्टी बहुत ज्यादा है, मेल न्यूट्रिशन बहुत ज्यादा है, मोर्टेलिटी रेट बहुत ज्यादा है, तो ये सभी प्रॉब्लम्स है। तो इन सभी प्रॉब्लम्स का जो सॉल्यूशन है वो भी कोई ज्यादा हटके सॉल्यूशंस नहीं है कि कुछ नए सॉल्यूशंस यूज करने पड़ेंगे। You just have the techniques. This techniques we know for decades. We just need perfect implementation of these techniques. So the first thing that we can do here to sort out these problems, number one is the rainwater harvesting. The number one technique that we use here is for rainwater harvesting. Rainwater harvesting. So to tackle the water stress in the dry time when there is no rainfall, right? There is water stress. So to tackle that water stress, the rainwater harvesting technique along with the traditional water storage techniques, like johads, khulls, bowlies. So these traditional water harvesting techniques plus rainwater harvesting structures have to be developed. So water stress को टैकल करने के लिए सबसे पहला सॉल्यूशन तो हमें ये अडॉप्ट करना होगा, राइट? उसके बाद the next thing that we have to be careful about is the encouraging the micro irrigation here. Encouraging the micro irrigation like drip irrigation, sprinkler irrigation, so these techniques have to be properly implemented in these zones, right? So that the water that is available is not wasted. We cannot simply use the flood irrigation technique in these areas that is most prevalent in the Haryana, Punjab. When they cultivate the rice, okay, they simply flood the field with the water. So that technique is both ecologically harmful as well as the wastage of the natural resource like water. So this is the second method that we have to adopt. The third is the conservation of soil moisture. Conservation of soil moisture. See, हमने ये कहा कि moisture, the water stress, this is the main problem in this region, okay, in these areas. So we have to conserve the soil moisture anyway. हमें कोई भी method use करना होगा soil moisture, and the very simple method for conservation of soil moisture is mulching. Okay, what you do, you have the crop waste every season, okay, you simply just fill the entire field with that crop waste, okay, that would prevent the loss of moisture from the soil, okay. So this mulching technique for the conservation of soil moisture. Then we have to tweak, छोटे छोटे changes करने पड़ेंगे, okay. We just have to tweak our cultivation method, okay, when we plant, okay, during the sowing season. यहाँ पे हमें दो चेंजेस करने होंगे। सबसे पहला जो चेंज हमें यहाँ पे करना होगा, फर्स्ट चेंज दैट वी हैव टू डू हियर in the sowing, during the sowing season, the first change that we have to do, you have to deep show the seeds, okay. Broadcasting method, simply no. Broadcasting of seeds, a big no. You don't use broadcasting. Simply जो सीड्स हैं उनको फील्ड के अंदर ऐसे बिखेर नहीं सकते, दैट इज द ब्रॉडकास्टिंग मेथड, ओके, बिकॉज दैट इज दैट in these regions, these are dry regions, so broadcasting method will not work in these regions. Okay, then the second method that during the sowing season that we have to adopt is we have to again deep application of fertilizers. Deep application of fertilizers. Now with this deep application of fertilizer, we will be preventing, number one, the leaching of the chemicals from fertilizer into the groundwater and other natural resources, and second one, it will be implemented along with the sprinkler drip irrigation would go to the crop in the needed amount, right? So this is the second technique that during the sowing season we must adopt, right? The next thing is we have to adopt the drought resistant crops. Drought resistant crops. Okay, the crops which can bear the droughts. Okay, so for this, what we can go for, we can go for the technologies, advanced, that new technology that we are coming with, like bt. We can adopt the bt crops. Okay, which are made in such a manner, the changes in the DNA genes of the crops is done in such a manner that they are adopted to even extreme droughts, right? So this is the fifth method, the fifth solution that we can here have in these dry land regions. The sixth solution in these dry land regions is, very natural, that comes to mind, that you adopt the diversification, that you encourage the diversification. बस क्रॉप कल्टीवेशन के पीछे हम दौड़ नहीं सकते इन रीजन्स में. वी हैव टू have diversification in the sense of we go for pisciculture, go for poultry farming, right? And the poultry farming, okay, and other diversification methods that we have, like the agroforestry is again a diversification method. Agroforestry, okay, like the crop combination, okay. Do not engage in monoculture. So these are the diversification methods that can be adopted in these regions of the dryland farming. And the last but not the least solution that I am proposing here is the solution number 7 that we can adopt here in this. See, these regions need to be spotted in terms of the livelihood diversification also. So livelihood diversification. Now livelihood diversification, what can government do? Government can engage the population in the Narega scheme, Jawahar Rozgar Yojana, integrated rural development program, right? So आजीविका अभियान, and there are number of schemes of the government for rural areas in which the people of these areas can be engaged. So these are for the livelihood diversification, the schemes that I mentioned here. So these are the solutions for the dry land. Okay, the rainwater harvesting first of all, then encouraging the micro irrigation, conservation of soil moisture. During the sowing season we have to adopt the deep sowing. Do not use the broadcasting. Simply वहाँ पर seeds को, you cannot just throw the seeds on the soil and expecting that they will one day be full crop. And then deep application of fertilizers, you apply the fertilizer deep in the soil. Adopt the drought resistant crops, for that you can go for the bt cultivation. And then finally the ball is in the government's court. Okay, for diversification, government has to follow these schemes, of narega, properly implementing narega, gry, integrated rural development, ajivika abhiyan. Okay, plus other programs are also there, like drought prone area development program, okay, desert prone area development program, hill area development program. Okay, so these programs will also help in these regions to tackle the poverty and adverse condition in these regions. Okay, so this is the dry land farming, okay, that we did here. So we started with the dryland region, dryland farming, then the four regions of India, okay, their significance, what is the problem, and what are the solution. Okay, so this is the dryland farming. Okay, now it's been 1 hour. Okay, the next topic of the next class, so we are finishing it here in this class. The next class, that is lecture number 12, we will be starting with the productivity enhancement program. Let us broaden the scope, that is productivity enhancement programs. Productivity enhancement programs. Okay, there are number of productivity enhancement program which the government undertook. Number one is the green revolution program. Number two is the white revolution. Okay, blue revolution. Okay, yellow revolution. So these four programs we will cover in the next class, along with these other topics the left which are miscellaneous type. Okay, that we will also cover in the next class. So thank you, this is the last of this class, and before closing the video, you do one thing, you subscribe the channel. Please subscribe the channel. Okay, so this is the end of this class, and we will meet in the next class. So thank you.